76.
Hello and welcome along to episode 19 of the Tennis Asia podcast. And on this edition, we look back at the recently completed WTA Finals in Riyadh. We also talk about Kei Nishikori back in the winner's circle in Helsinki. A little look ahead to Japan this week at the Billie Jean Cup. And of course, as ever, going back to our own ground of the challengers, a little roundup and preview of what's going on in the world of proper tennis. And joining me to navigate through Mr. Tennis Asia himself, Eddie McGee. Eddie, how are you? Last time I saw you was at the tennis.
Yeah, we went to the tennis at the Seoul Challenger, and we didn't do a podcast about it. I think we're so excited.
Yes,
we took a week to recover.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've not actually quite recovered from that Wednesday just yet. I completely forgot I went to a football match after it.
Well, we're back now, and there's been a lot to talk about. Yes, WTA Finals.
Yeah. Well, we might as well crack on there. And obviously, from our perspective, it was Zheng Qinwen. She was fresh off her victory in the tournament in Japan. She went to Riyadh. And I think you just mentioned at the end of her final match, she was fuming. But I think she'll probably look back on a pretty good week's work. Certainly her bank manager will. Started off getting Sabalenka as per usual, but it got better from then on in.
Yes. So Zheng Qinwen, she came into this having qualified by her ranking, ranked 7th in the world. And yeah, she ended up in the group with Sabalenka, Jasmine Paolini, and Elena Rybakina. And yeah, of course, it started off against Sabalenka, and it ended up being, and this was the 5th time that she played her, it ended up being a 5th consecutive loss. Didn't go quite as well as the last one. She faced her in that final in Wuhan, the WTA 1000 final, where she did take a set, Zhang against Sabalenka, which, was the first time that she'd done that. But yeah, actually, this time she ended up losing, more or less straightforward for Sabalenka. Yeah, 6-3, 6-4 for Sabalenka in the end. But yeah, obviously there's a matchup issue there for Zhang. And one that she's going to have to overcome at some point, but not this time. But she wasn't downhearted, and she headed into the next match against Jasmine Paolini, and ended up dominating that match, to be honest. I mean, I don't think Paolini really got into it in terms of being able to deal with the way that Zhang was serving. I mean, there was a little interesting article as well going into this tournament as well, put off by Jeff Sackman, who runs the Tennis Abstract website, and he has a lot of statistical data on there, and he looked through the numbers, and he noticed that, in the latter half of this year, Zhang has seen quite a big increase in her just all-round game, actually, highlighting that, because one of the problems with Zheng, she's got a great first serve, but she has a great serve and full stop. But she has a difficulty earlier in the career of getting her first serve percentage up. It was tend to be pretty low, but he showed the stats that she's upped that by a couple of percentage points on average, which is quite a lot. And then just showing in general that the first serve points, her general service points have gone up. Her backhand has become much more potent than it was, and returning as well. So it was showing that she has really, although it's felt that way and it showed in the results, it was showing in statistically as well, and it was quite eye-opening as well for me to read that. And I mean, anyway, if you look at her stats in the latter half of this year, I mean, coming into this, I mean, she was about 31 to 5 or something. In the latter half of the year, which is, it's elite level sort of record. And yeah, she came through and she played Paolini just serving ridiculously well, and it ended up being a 6-1 victory.
I saw a little bit of that because that was quite on a good time. It was quite brutal Uh,
Yeah.
at times she was coming off though. I think in between the Sabalenka and the Paolini match, she had a much tougher assignment with Rybakina.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, after that 6-1, 6-1 rout, I mean, she hit 12 aces in that match. It was just such a good performance. And then she headed into the match against Rybakina, a player, of course, who has been out for a bit of time coming into this. So, we weren't sure how Rybakina was going to do. But and then she actually did lose to Paolini in that first
Mm,
game in straight sets. But she came into the Zhang match a little bit better because it ended up going to a tiebreak in that first set. And actually, it was Zhang who was ahead. She went up a break, and then Rybakina came back. And honestly, up until the tiebreak, she looked the better player from
mm,
actually, the way that she was able to get back into it. But when it came to the tiebreak, Zhang stepped up and actually, she made some good plays, good shot making that allowed her to take that first set in the tiebreak 7-4. Rebecca did fight back though, and yeah, Zhang not being quite as dominant on the serve this time as she would. She hit a few double faults as well, but yeah, Rebecca, obviously she's still got tremendous qualities herself.
mm.
But when it came to that final set, I remember Zhang at the beginning, she was under a little bit of pressure on her serve because it went to juice. I don't think Rebecca got a break point, but when you've got that momentum there, it's always tough,
Right.
when the other player's got the momentum, you're having to hold on there. But she came through that pretty well. And then from then on, she just stepped up. I mean, yeah, 6-1, she played that final, well, she won that final set, and she was moving really well. Her ground strikes, we talked about how they've improved, but like also, yeah, she just was hitting really well, moving really well, and on some of that, when she gets into a rally, an extended rally, she was
Right.
getting coming out on top. I mean, Rebecca, she's got the power, but she doesn't move quite as well. Um, and yeah, 6-1, deserved winner in the end in that match. And Rebecca ended up actually going on to beat Sabalenka. Um,
Right.
Perhaps unexpectedly, she came through and beat her. Um, yeah, but Rebecca,
A real topsy turvy group. The upshot of it was that Zhang came out of it, and she got to the semi-finals where she would play the Wimbledon champion Barbara Krajcova.
yeah, Barbara Krejcikova, Barbara, um, lost out into a fairly tight match. She won the first set against Swiatek,
Mm,
but she beat Jessica Pegula and Coco
yeah.
Gauff in straight
Mm,
sets. So this was impressive. And Krejcikova, yeah, I mean, she's got two slams. When she's on her game, she's a really tough player to play against, and she's got quite a good all-round game. She's had a lot of doubles experience. She's great at the net. So it was always felt like it was going to be a difficult game for Zheng coming into that. Having said that, Zheng managed to come through
mm,
in straight sets, and Krejcikova did do well in the second set. I mean, the first set, Zhang ended up winning 6-3 and was up 3-love, actually. But then Krejcikova won four consecutive games to bring it back to 4-3 in
right.
the second set. So Zhang was under some pressure. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, I think Zhang, at the point where she is now, she's dealing with the pressure so well at the moment,
Mm,
generally speaking, much better than she has. And we talk about the improvements in her game. She's a great athlete, and she's showing it now, and that's what led to the final. I mean, she got through to the final, and she,
yeah.
you said before, like she might look back on it and give herself a pat in the back. I mean, before the match, she did get interviewed. I'm pretty sure she said that you know this is her first time playing in WTA finals, and she's made the final, so she's got to be happy.
Mm,
And yeah, I mean, definitely it's a great achievement. But she came up against Coco Gauff, who of course has achieved, more in the game than Zheng has, and obviously at a younger age as well. And it was always going to be a difficult match. But for Zheng, she won the first set 6-3. And honestly, she was playing superbly. And, I think, Coco had obviously come in great confidence as well, having just beaten Sabalenka in straight sets. No one, it was a bit of an upset, right? Maybe people were kind of expecting Sabalenka to win, but of course,
Right.
Yeah,
And I think no one would have been happier than Zheng when Coco actually came through that semi.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this final actually was one of the best WTA matches of the
Mm.
year. And we talked about the athleticism of Zheng, but Coco Gauff is perhaps maybe the finest athlete on the WTA tour. I mean, both of them strong, they move well. Coco Gauff even more so than Zheng, and that just it creates the so many good rallies from both of them that were able to extend the rallies, and they both can hit well. And I felt like Coco, she was she's had problems with maybe the forehand, when she's not confident. There's been errors on that side from Coco, and also issues with the serve. She wasn't showing that this time, and Zheng, both of them were playing very well. And in the second set, I mean, I think Zhang, she was up a break as well. So it did kind of look like that, maybe Zheng could actually get this done
It's
in
going to
two.
happen. Yeah.
But Goff found her level and managed to fight back 6-4. And in that, final set as well, Zhang was actually up 5-3 as well.
Right.
I might be getting mixed up here. I think 5-3, and then she had the chance to serve for the match at 5-4. I think in that final set. Unfortunately for Zhang, she couldn't take it, and I think maybe when we're talking about how Coco, she has that. She's such a great athlete, and obviously she's still so young. But I think maybe towards the end, that Zhang was maybe obviously feeling the pressure, but perhaps Coco had a bit more of the legs in her that allowed her to win some of these tighter points, I think. And, Coco's not the kind of player that's going to give you any points
Right.
easily. So, I mean, in the end, unfortunately for Zhang, she couldn't actually, serve that out when she had the chance. It went to a tiebreak, and it ended up being, it wasn't really close in the tiebreak. So
Yeah.
Coco won that 7-2. I think it was, she went up 6-love as well. So so in the end it was 7-6. 7-2 in that tiebreak. For Coco, and it was a great match. And really, I think if you were actually, I mean, because people were wondering like, oh, is it going to be much of a spectacle? And there's not going to be that many people there and stuff. I mean, it was a full stadium. I mean, it wasn't the biggest arena you've ever seen, right,
Yeah.
for the WTA finals. But I think if that was the first women's tennis match you watched, you'd be like, wow, this is really good.
I
So
think they were always going to find ways to make sure that arena was full for the final, regardless of what it was on the previous days. There was no way that there was going to be any empty seats for the TV to find at the final. So I mean, you followed it very closely across the year. It's interesting what you said about the statistics really backing up what everyone has seen a rise up the rankings. Obviously, getting that the Olympic medal, now coming so close in the tour finals, getting the ranking up so high as well. Uh, what do you think we should be looking for next from Zheng? Obviously, she's reached a level. There is another level where you're competing with the Sabalenkas and the Cocos of this world and the Swiatek's of this world on a regular basis. Can she reach it?
well, I would say yes. I mean, we've talked about before how. I mean, first of all, those improvements are very real. I mean, statistically, it's
Yeah.
there. But maybe like in some of these big finals, she hasn't won. But let's remember though, she won the Olympic gold this year, and she beat Swiatek to do that in the semis. So, and in this tournament, she beat Rybakina. It was the first time she'd beaten Rybakina. obviously your background former slam champion herself, and one of the top players in the world. So she showed that she can do that. And last time she played Coco Gauff, I think that was in Rome on clay. She lost in straight sets, I think. So certainly this match went much better for her. But I think, yeah, she's slowly getting there. I mean, I think it's this sort of she's built up the confidence in her game, and how angry she was to lose. I mean, of course, it's normal, but it shows that she's an extremely determined player, and I think she's got a good coach there, and it'll be interesting. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be interesting to see how she does next year, because I can only see that she's going to keep up. I mean, after this tournament, she lost. She moves up to number 5 in the world.
5, yeah.
From she was at number 7, so that puts her, the 5th player of the year, 5th ranked player this year, the 5th best player of the whole year. The only players ahead of her were barely in points. She's 4 points ahead of her is Jasmine Paolini. It's an extremely tight gap. And then above that's Coco Gauff, Swiatek, and Sabalenka. So, yeah. I mean, that's great. And I think it indicates how she'd done. But if she was to continue the sort of form that she had in the latter half after post Wimbledon into the first half of next year, I mean, I could easily see her being up in that top 3, certainly top 4, but possibly breaking into top 3 at some point. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think she's still got much to improve, and still only 22 years of age, so I do think there is something to go there. But she's gonna hope to keep that going. And I think if you're a Chinese tennis fan, if you're a Zheng fan, a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, she could potentially be the most popular athlete in the world in terms of in terms of fans. Yeah, it was. So I mean, I enjoyed debates about Riyadh aside. I enjoyed the tournament in general. We'll move across to the men's. We'll also move across from obviously Zheng, still almost at the start of her career. Someone at the other end of his career who we have been following his sort of on the comeback trail of late, Kei Nishikori. Now, Kei has been playing his way around Europe over the past few weeks or so. He went to Vienna a couple of weeks ago. I think he lost to Draper in the first round. He got to the semis in Bratislava the week before last. He ultimately got beaten, I think, by the top seed, Safiullin. Tennis never stops, though, as we say regularly here. And Kei went to Helsinki and the Tally Open, a relatively new event on the Challenger Tour. I think it's only been going about 5 years. And success.
Yeah, so this was a Challenger 125 event, which is one of the highest levels of Challenger event. The only ones higher than that is the 175, which there's only a handful of that take place in the second week of the Masters tournaments. But yeah, it's a good tournament, and for a Challenger tournament, there's a lot of good players that were playing in it. So I mean, for Kei, he had to come through. The first round was Nicolas Alvarez Varona. Yes, that was a fairly straightforward straight sets victory. But then he had to come up against the 7th seed in the second round, Jerome Kim, who is from Switzerland, and he is a young player, very much on the up. I think he's 6'6" as well. He's got a bit of power about him, and he's only 21. So that was a difficult match. I mean, it went to 3 sets, but ultimately Nishikori did come through, and then he had to face Jacob Fernley in the quarterfinal. So high quality level of player in this challenger. Yeah, Fernley is inside the top 100. I think about 90 in the world now, but he is obviously had an incredible season in the Challenger Tour. I think he's only lost like 3 matches, but won like 24, 25 matches. So, and that third match that he lost was to Nishikori. So Nishikori came through that one 6-4, 6-3. in straight sets. I did see some of that match, and also, it wasn't. Although it was straightforward, it was the straight sets, but it
Straight
wasn't
sets,
quite.
but not straightforward.
It's not
Yeah.
straightforward in the sense that he did get broken 3 times, and then he ended up having to get 5 breaks himself. So it was a bit
Right.
topsy turvy in a way. I mean, perhaps Jacob giving him a bit of a helping hand because there's 9 double faults, and I remember there being a
Yeah.
few double faults. He's got that issue
Eight breaks
sometimes.
of serve across the 2 sets.
But hey, I mean, it's probably partly because of the pressure that Nishikori is facing. He's an
Mm.
elite timing on the return, and there's no doubt. I mean, there's going to be some difficulty with Nishikori with his serve. He's never been the strongest serve, and obviously indoor it favors the bigger servers, but nonetheless, he's got such a good timing and ball striking that he's going to have a chance, especially at this level. And he came through and won that in straight set in the end. And then semi final difficult though. He
Mm.
played Max Rehberg, who is another young player who came from qualifying. So it was a great run for him. But ultimately, Nishikori came through in 3 sets. And the final match was against a young Italian, Luca Nardi, 21 years of age. Um, I mean, how many Italians are coming through? There's been so many of them. Luca Nardi, only 21. He's been as high as 70 in the world. He's dipped down a bit to about 100 or just outside the top 100. But it was a really difficult match because, Nardi, great mover, and, he's got great ground strokes as well. And he did go up and take that first set. Luca Nardi's 5th seed, 6-3. And I believe, he went up a break as well in that second set.
Mm.
And you're thinking, maybe it's just not going to be Nishikori's day. I mean, I think like at the start of that match, he didn't have the best start on serve. I think he got broken and then broken back, but then he got broken again. And it
Mm.
was just having difficulty sort of staying on top, and he couldn't break back. And then, obviously, when you go down a set and a break, you're thinking this is bad. But I think he did break back, and then afterwards, he did break back, but then afterwards he played much better. Maybe he got a little bit of fortune because I think it's after maybe around 3-2 in that second set. Nardi actually, I think he got a nosebleed,
Oh,
and
okay.
then they had to stop play for quite a while. I mean, I don't know if that helped out Nishikori a bit, but certainly he ended up breaking, and he was playing much better. I think earlier on he was a few more errors and stuff in the match, but he's just, once he gets into the swing of it, his timing, just his ball striking. I mean, he loves to, you know, even when he's going high percentage shots, he's able to pull it off sometimes, over the high part of the
Mm.
net, and it's just such a pleasure to watch, when he's in full flow. And I think he won that second set 6-4, and then in the final set he really just started running away. And then that 6-1 scoreline was very much indicative
Right.
of how it went, and it was a great title for him to get it done. I mean, it's the first. I mean, we could talk about all the injuries that he's had. We know that he's had extensive injury issues, and he's come back and then had to stop again several times. But this is his first title since winning a challenger in June last year.
Mm.
This is a bigger one though, 125, and it puts him up to about 107 in the rankings, on the verge of breaking back into the top 100. That's not going to be quite enough for the Australian Open unless he
Right.
decides to play. I know there's still a couple of challengers left in Japan to
In
go.
Japan,
I don't know
yeah.
if he wants to lower himself to come in, because it might only be 75 level ones, but and obviously if he wanted to, he'd get a wild card. But maybe he's just gonna, even at 107 in the rankings, mind you, it's still possible with
Could sneak
withdrawals
in, yeah.
to sneak into the main draw. But you'd have to imagine, the way, if he can keep this kind of form up, then even if he does have to play qualies, he'd probably be able to come through it. But yeah, there was also quite a few Japanese fans there in Helsinki as well. So really nice for them as well to be able to watch that, in a kind of fairly
Mm.
intimate little venue there. Um, and yeah, great for Kei Nishikori and a nice
Indeed.
success for Tennis Asia.
Indeed. Speaking of, just stay on the men's side, just briefly touch on, as I think we cursed him a few weeks ago by singing his praises. We followed him all year. Boo Yin He's had a bit of a torrid time since that breakout performance in China a couple of weeks ago. But he was back to winning ways. He did actually win a couple of games at the Moselle Open last week, which is in a town called Metz in France. Now, when I was at university, Metz was the name of a schnapps-based alcopop, but it is a city in France. They had the indoor tournament last week, and he came through a couple of rounds before falling, I think, in the round or the quarterfinals, I think, to Mickelson.
Ah, yeah. So you're talking about Boo Yinchokete, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so obviously he had that great run in China at home. And yeah, Hangzhou, he got through to the semi finals. And then he got the semi finals in Beijing, which was fantastic. He beat Musetti
mm,
and his countryman Shang, and then Rublev um, before falling to Yannick Sinner. Since then, he struggled to get any main draw wins on the Challenger Tour. Sorry, on the ATP Tour. Um, yeah, got some wins in qualies in certain events, but not in the main draw. But then he came into this 250 event in Metz. It's the last of the normal regular tournaments on the ATP Tour this year, and yeah, came through in straight sets against Adrian Manarino, and then also in straight sets against Jesper de Jong, and ultimately
mm.
falling to Alex Michelsen. But he did take the first set in a tiebreak. But Alex Michelsen, of course, he's got a lot of potential. He's still only 20 years of age, and
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Ultimately, he lost that match. But obviously, it's nice for him to get those wins under his belt, and I think he's back up now to Boo, or he's I say back up. He's now at a career high ranking, 67 in the world.
Wow.
So
Well, he'll surely be top seed, I'd imagine. Okay. Surprised me.
Taro Daniel.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
Yeah, so
I
Taro.
did I did notice when looking briefly at that tournament, I did notice that poor old Coleman Wong is out already.
Yes, the maybe we will talk about, or should we talk about the challengers now? We were going to talk about Billie Jean King Cup, but
Well, yeah. Oh, we can finish on Billie Jean King Cup, can't we? Because let's go. Yeah, let's do challenges. Let's do challenges.
yes, so yeah, poor Coleman Wong because I mean he's just not in a good space at the moment.
Mm,
I mean I did see some of that match. I mean it's not a great first round to draw. He
right.
played Sho Shimabukuro. Um, Coleman was the eighth seed. But yeah, out of the unseeded players, that is definitely one of the toughest he could have faced. I mean, Show's been
Yeah.
up as high as 135 in the world, and he did qualify for slams before, which is something that Coleman hasn't done yet. But he's got like a quite a tricky game. He likes to take the ball early, and sort of can work well on these indoor courts. And yeah, first set went to a tiebreak for Coleman, and ultimately he didn't win it, and probably could have done. It was a close set, and I think he just fell apart from that. I think he's just lacking in a bit of confidence, and
Mm.
yeah, of course this happens in tennis, and when you probably put a bit of pressure on himself as well to try and make the next gen finals.
The nation.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he's down at 10th now in the race. He's still got a couple of more of those two more challenger events to go, but that is yeah, it's going to be
That's hanging
difficult for
by a
him to make
thread.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously we know that maybe some players might not play, like Arthur Feast or yeah. So if those certain players decide not to play, you might sneak in that way. But I mean, I'm sure he'd rather secure it, by his own merit.
Right.
But yeah, otherwise though, we've got second in that second seed there, Taro Daniel, who's drawn against qualifier Ushida, his countryman. So obviously Taro Daniel is someone I talked to when I was at Seoul,
Mm.
and yeah, he did indicate that he was going to skip the tournament last week, which he did, which was in Matsuyama, and then he
Matsuyama,
did
yeah.
indicate he'd probably play Kobe, so looks like he's going to do that. And then
I wonder if he's got his rackets back yet.
yes, that was Alistair's talking about basically. Tara Daniel before his semi-final match found that he got 6 rackets strung, but then found that 3 of them had been stolen on the morning of his match. That was a semi-final match against, was it Yuri Rodionov? I
Yes, it
believe
was. Yeah.
so. Yeah, he ended up coming through that. Um, yeah, quite unusual, isn't it, to hear about something like that? But he said that his coach Sven Gronvald is the famous coach. Had been on a tour over 30 years, and that had never happened to him.
I can't believe that though. I can't believe that in 30 years rackets haven't gone missing at the Stringers. Like
Yeah,
my
but
I mean I have laundry go missing at the dry cleaners like quite regularly, which is as close as I come to needing my rackets restrung. But I'm sure it must happen. But
yeah, well, there's that happening. I mean, Tyro Daniel, assuming he's got the energy, he'd obviously be fancying his chances to do well in this tournament. We've got Wu Tung Lin of Taiwan. He's already through
mm,
against Tristan Schoolkate. And then Boo, obviously, he's going to fancy his chances. He's got Elias Emer, who qualified. He'll face him first. Not
right.
the easiest, but I would imagine that Boo has the quality to come through that. But then if he does come through that, he has to play the winner of Rodionov or Rei Sakamoto, who is the young 18-year-old who was number one junior, but he's transitioning now to the
Mm,
main tour, or to the professional tour, I should say. Ray came through in straight sets in each of his qualifying matches. So that was quite impressive. Definitely one to watch out for. And also in that draw, I mean, we've got.
Another one we saw in Seoul. We actually is from Thailand, Kasadit Samrej. We actually saw him
Mm,
come through that absolute war against that very sort of dour attritional war against Coleman Wong. He had
yeah,
a good soul, and I don't know. Tell us a little bit about him for those not familiar.
Yeah, so Cassidy Samrej is 23-year-old from Thailand. He is the Thai at number one on the men's side, and he, is just been on a bit of a steady rise. I mean, he's done pretty well in the ITF tour this year. He's fairly tall, so he does have a bit of power on him.
Mm.
He's got decent serve, so I think he's like maybe 6 feet two or so. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I talked, or when I say I talked, I heard. I was actually, I think, in the live chat on Instagram because we were following that with Taro Daniel. Someone did ask him
Mm.
because Taro had to play him in that match after we saw him play against Coleman. He was
Right.
in the quarterfinal, and Taro did come through in straight sets. But someone asked him, "What did you think about it?" And he said, "Yes, that he thought he was impressed with Cassidy. He's actually 6 feet three, 191 centimeters. I've just had to check there.
Mm.
So yeah, so obviously Taro's played a lot of players on the Challenger and on the main tour. Some of the best players in the world. So he did talk highly of him. So that's going to be interesting to watch it if he can actually push further up the rankings. Obviously, having that serve and to build on, and then he does seem to have decent strokes. Of course, this is the one that as well he knocked out Kwon Soon Woo in the Asian
Mm.
Games before,
Right.
which led to a bit of a meltdown from Kwon. But so he's got had some decent wins. Obviously,
You've
being
just stolen 2 years of my life from me.
he obviously he's had some beating Kwon and then beating obviously just now Coleman. So yeah, this could be a player that we see a lot more of on the Challenger Tour these days. And then Yeah, I mean, in that draw in general, there's a lot of Asian players taking part. I mean,
Mm,
you've got interesting ones. Obviously, we talked about Shima Bukuro, Hiroki Moriya's Japanese player that
and
qualified. You play Alex Bolt, and we've got Benjamin Hassan, who represents Lebanon. He's
right.
in there. And then Yosuke Watanuki, of course, he has been, well inside the top 100 before, but he's on the comeback here. He got the wild card. Lot of talent there. But yeah, after injuries, he's on the comeback. But, he did win. He's won a lot on the Challenger Tour. Perhaps he could do well this year if he can get into a bit of a rhythm. But a lot of decent names in there. And we got Yatataka Uchiyama
And
as well.
well, I mean, we
He's
had
six.
the sole champion Basilashvili didn't even make it through qualifiers, so
Yeah, that's right.
it's a tough event.
I don't know
Lee
if he
too,
can make
obviously
it.
there as well.
Yeah, perhaps maybe he could sneak in as a lucky loser, but we'll
Mm,
see. But I mean, Alexander Blocks is the player that Sam Reg is going to play. He's a young, up and coming Belgian player who I think he did well. He got to the semi-finals in Matsuyama. So yeah, a lot of players in there, and I guess I mean if I'm going to pick a winner.
mm.
Who could I pick a winner? Should I pick a winner?
Who needs it this week? I think that's the thing. Who really needs it this week?
Who really needs it this week?
Who really needs it this week? Yeah,
Well, that's
I
difficult
always
because I mean,
yeah, there is always a lot of sort of motivations gone into it. So you think whoever won last week, okay, maybe not this week, etc., etc. But it
yeah,
could
I
be
mean,
anyone, couldn't it?
I would say possibly because he's on the comeback trail, Yosuke Watanuki.
Hmm.
So if he can get going, I mean, certainly he is going to be one of the favourites to take the
Yeah,
title. He would have to play Terence Atman in the second round, so that might be a bit of a test. But perhaps, yeah, I mean, I think an indoor court as well, it's going to be suitable for him. So perhaps he can do that. And he's actually a former champion in Kobe, won it 2 years ago.
okay.
So, he's actually won it twice before. Also in 2019 and was a finalist in 2018. So, yeah, perhaps he is a good pick there.
The
And so I'm going to
the
pick
tournament
him.
taking place at the Mickey Disaster Management Park, which has got to be one of the coolest names of an event
And,
venue.
and also, I should
Uh,
I should say that you say it's a cool name, but it's also a really cool looking venue. If you go onto the ATP page and click on that tournament, it's got a really, or if you go on the Challenger TV as well, and you click on that tournament, you'll see the center court is a really nice little venue, and I would love to be able to attend it, but yeah,
it does actually serve as a disaster prevention area. So the name is actually, I guess it's of course it's the earthquake zone, but yeah, fascinating places. If you could spend a year following the challenges around the world, that would be definitely one to try and tick off. Okay, any more on anything else you want to say about challenges this week?
well, probably just gonna say that yeah, there's just two more challengers out in
Hmm.
Asia after this, so still opportunity perhaps for Coleman to sort of get his stuff together. I'm not going to bet on it, but yeah, we've got it's Yokaichi is the other one. I think that's the one at the end, and then we've also got God, the name escapes me now. Sorry, Yokohama first, and then Yokaichi,
Okay. Hmm.
and yeah, so that'll be going. I don't think Boo's going to play Yokohama. Yeah, he might play Yokaichi. He's not withdrawn from that yet. Nishioka might turn up in some of these ones. So Yoshihito Nishioka, I think he's
Hmm.
actually entered in Yokaichi. So I wrote a bit of an appearance from the Japanese number one um, at the end of the season, right in the
A
last
little
tournament.
Christmas bonus for the local fans. Moving back across the other side of the world and moving codes back to the women's game as well. One of the biggest events of the year, well, ongoing event, but In Malaga, I believe we are this week. It is Billie Jean King Cup time.
Mm-hmm.
Japan will face Romania in the opener, which I think is starting this Wednesday.
Yes, so the finals, the Billie Jean King Cup finals, are taking place in Malaga, Spain this week, and the only Asian representative in the finals is Japan. Unfortunately for Japan, they'll be without, of course, their star player Naomi Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
However, leading the top ranked player they've got there is star of this podcast is Mayuka Uchijima. She's got the singles ranking of 56th in the world at the moment. She's had a little bit of success recently on the double circuit as well, which
Oh, okay.
we haven't actually talked about because we've been a bit away for a while. Yeah, she won the title, ATP 250 title, with Guo Hanyu, her
Oh,
Chinese
yes.
doubles partner, and they actually won the title there.
In Jiangxi, yeah.
And then she also got to the final, I think, as well on the double circuit, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But I might have met no. Yeah, so she won that title. And what I was wanting to I don't think she did win another one or get to the final before that. I might be getting
Can't
mixed up here.
find one, no.
But what I was going to
No.
say was there's a lot of, although they are without Naomi Osaka, there's a lot of versatility in the Japanese team, which is obviously useful when you're going into a Davis Cup tie, in
Right.
the sense that you got a lot of players that can play doubles there. Because obviously, Miyuka Jijima, she's just had that doubles title, so she's shown that she can play doubles. Ena Shibahara, of course, she's made that transition to the singles recently, but of course was a top doubles player along. She
Mm,
used to play alongside Shuko Aoyama. Ena Shibahara is still a 41 ranked doubles player, but
right.
these days Shuko Aoyama and Eri Hozumi, who are both in the Japanese team, uh, they're the ones who play doubles together these days,
Right.
and they're still doing pretty well. They're also ranked in the 40s in the doubles. Um, now Hubino, she probably won't be going into the doubles, but she is going to be playing the first singles match. So you've got different possibilities for players who can play doubles if they have to. There's always going to be
Hmm.
injuries as well. Not always, but there always could be injuries. Now Hubino actually will open up the first singles match against Anna Bogdan. I think is the
Right.
number two singles players. Um, Anna Bogdan, who has, she has been quite highly ranked before. I think she was in the top 50, but she's dropped down a bit now. But now Hubino, yes, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I think Moyuka Ichijima, I think at the moment, we'll see that. I mean, it might change when we actually get down to on the 14th, which is on Thursday. She will be playing Jacqueline Christian, who's the number one player from Romania in the team. So I think Mayuka, obviously she did really well when she had the ITF run and then obviously qualified for the French Open and won her
Right.
first round there and obviously lost to Sabalenka. But, she's, I say, had a little bit of a struggle in terms of transitioning to the main tour. She's had some wins here and there and qualified for some of when she's had to come through qualified, she has qualified for a few the WTA tournaments, which is why she's got inside the top 60 in the world. But yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, I would say Jacqueline Christian, it's going to be difficult, and she's got a bit more experience as well, perhaps against sort of tougher players. So we'll see how that goes. And then obviously the doubles. I think they've selected their Elena Gabriela Ruse
Right.
in the doubles. Yeah, I mean,
Ruse,
I do.
Ruse and Niculescu, it says here.
Yeah, so Shuko Aoyama and Eri Hazuma, they've been playing regularly, so that maybe counts in their favor a bit. as I said, there's a bit of versatility there in the Japanese team, because you've also got Ena Shibahara, who, honestly, I mean, I would say she's probably been better form in a way than Mayuka on the singles tour, but perhaps she's just been playing some of the lower tournaments, but she could maybe make an appearance on singles as well, or the doubles. So it's going to be interesting. I think that could be a close tie, but as I say, there is definitely some hope for the Japanese team, and hopefully I will be able to catch some of that. Obviously, it's in Malaga, and it's going to be probably taking place starting in midday or like early afternoon, hopefully, right, which would allow us to catch some of that in the evening here at a reasonable time. So, fingers crossed, I will be able to do that.
And the winner will go through to a quarterfinal against Italy. So it won't get any easier. So what are your tennis watching plans this week? I mean, ATP Finals, I guess, though not much in the way of Asian interest in that. So Billie Jean Cup and Kyoto, I guess.
Yeah, Billie Jean King Cup and Kobe, not
Kobe.
Kyoto.
Yeah,
yeah, obviously, I mean, we don't live in a bubble. We do watch tennis outside of Asia as well. So ATP Finals, yeah, sure.
It's okay to switch. I mean, the ATP Finals, it's on Korean TV, so it is okay to switch it on as soon as we finish here. Yeah.
Hey, there's you talk about Asian players. There is one Asian player at the ATP Finals in the doubles. That's Rohan Bopana who's playing.
I was gonna say you're gonna tell me doubles now, aren't you? But,
yeah. He's playing alongside Matthew Ebden as the sixth seed. So,
okay.
Yeah. So potentially could have some Asian success here as well. So why not? I'll be keeping one eye on that, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out, and of course, a lot of prize money on offer. I don't know whether I'm actually curious of what is the prize money in the ATP Finals. So yeah, it's actually the WTA Finals that we just talked about with Zheng getting the final. She gets much more money than some of these ATP Finals guys were getting. I mean, she finished. She lost, right? Against. It depends. I mean, but she lost that final, but she still got over like something. I'm going to say like $2.5 million or something.
So probably more than for winning. $2 million. Yeah,
I think Coco got over 4 million.
She got 4.8, I think it was, or something.
Well, there you go. That's crazy. I mean, for the singles winner in the ATP, the final one gets you 2.2.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they get that plus the round robin matches because you get a certain number for the round robin wins. It's 396,000. So potentially, I'm not sure that would get you more than what Coco won. But the undefeated champion gets 4.8. Is that the same as the women? Yeah, it must be the same, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay. Well, getting more than they're getting in Kobe this week, certainly. Okay. I think that's just about it. Enjoy your tennis this week. Hopefully, we will have some success to report from Malaga and from further afield as well. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Right. Cheers.